Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. A strange name for a great book. And today we're going to analyze one excerpt from it. We'll do that from a very specific perspective, which is that of your own personal and spiritual growth. What is the message, the lesson that is in this book that you can take with you for your own personal growth? That's the question that we'll try to answer today. And stay till the very end, because I'll tell you more about the secret to decision-making that is discussed in this book. Want to be a great decision maker? Then this is the right video for you. Let's do this. If you know how to be present, you're in the best possible position to be able to deal with whatever challenge comes to your life. Not the other way around. Not if you think about all the possible problems and all the possible solutions. If you want to be someone that can make right decisions, you need to be someone that lives in the real universe. You need to be fully alert at the front of your train of awareness. If you want to develop your ability to make decisions, you need to stop thinking. Stop thinking about the future. Stop thinking about the past. And learn to inhabit the present moment. Hello everyone, my name is Alex. It's a pleasure to greet you again. This project I'm doing is called My Bookshelf, and what I'm doing is I am just sharing some of the nuggets of wisdom that are in the books that I have read so far in the past few years. You can see them behind me, well, some of them at least. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting one of those and sharing an excerpt that I think contains an important message, a message that we analyze so that you can receive and understand the message that is being communicated through the book, basically. So, so the book that I've selected for today is called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's a funny title for a book. The author is called Robert Pirsig. He was American, and he died in 2017. The book was published in 1974 and received mixed reviews at the beginning, but later on it ended up becoming a bestseller and a classic, really. It is often cited as one of the most influential books of the 20th century, and I believe that's a fair judgment. It's a very profound book. Pirsig's book emerged in the context of a culture that started questioning the values of the society where they were born and seeking an alternative way of not only living, but also understanding the nature of the human being, the nature of the universe, and all those things. It is generally said that classic books become classics not only because of the work itself, but also because of the context and the culture that receives the books, basically. And I think this was a case, at least in this particular book. It took 4 years for Robert Pirsig to write the book. And as I understand it, he wrote it mostly during the early hours of the morning, because apparently he had a very busy life and he used to write in the mornings before starting his days between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So most of the sentences written here were written in the early hours of the morning. The manuscript was rejected over 100 times until a publisher accepted it, and then it became a classic, really. So I think this is an example of perseverance. Now, the book itself, it's a very special one. I think it's important to note that it defies any categorization, but if we would be pushed to categorize it, I think I would categorize it as a novel, although if you go to any bookstore, you will probably find it under the fiction section, which I think is incorrect because this is not a fiction book. It's an autobiography. But the book has different layers to it. On the most superficial one, I think we have the story of this trip that father and son make through incredible landscapes, apparently. So on the most superficial level, you have the storyline of what happens during their journey, what challenges they encounter, and what sights they see. On the middle level, you have personal story. The book is written in first person, and it deals a lot with the authors, with the protagonists' own reflections, and he tells a lot about his own mental health, his own personal struggles with mental health. Apparently, the author had schizophrenia and received electroconvulsive therapy as a way of treating it, which obviously nowadays is a prohibited treatment. But he reflects on the effect that the treatment caused on him and the split in the identity that was caused by the treatment, and coming to terms with the character, the individual that he used to be before that, and the person that he is now, basically. And the third storyline, which I think is the most profound one, is the one that we're going to be concerned with today. It's a philosophical inquiry that the author presents on the nature of the human condition, the nature of the human mind, the nature of reality, the nature of a transpersonal reality, God, whatever you want to call it. He calls it quality, which is an interesting term, as we will see. So yeah, that's the level we're gonna be concerned with today. But anyway, without further ado, why don't we dive into it? I have selected a few paragraphs that I want to share with you. So as always, I'm going to read it and we're going to analyze together to try to understand what he's trying to tell us. He writes, "The Greeks called it enthusiasmos, the root of enthusiasm, which means literally filled with theos, or God, or quality." As I told you, quality is a term that he uses for God, for the transcendental reality. See how that fits? He asks. So, he's going to talk about a quality that he says is related to enthusiasm, which means filled with God, basically. And he goes on. A person filled with gumption doesn't sit around dissipating and stewing about things. He is at the front of the train of his awareness, watching to see what's up the track and meeting it when it comes. That's gumption. So he's introducing here this quality that he calls it being filled with God, and he also describes it as gumption. So gumption is a very alien word these days, I think. I didn't know what it meant when I read this for the first time. And I think it's very interesting that it is an unknown term. If you don't know it, don't Google it just yet. I'm going to Google it for us in a minute, but I find it is more interesting if we can approach this without Googling it, because you'll see it's very interesting. So he's describing this quality that he calls gumption. And again, he says, a person filled with gumption doesn't sit around dissipating and stewing about things. Rumination is the word that comes to my mind. What is that? Rumination is when we sit and we think about things, the past, and we think about the things that we did wrong, the things that happened that we resist, that we resent, our mistakes or our perceived mistakes. Only if this wouldn't have happened, I would be in a different place today. Only if my husband wouldn't have left me, I could be happy now. Only if they wouldn't have fired me from my job, I could be happy and fulfilled today. Do you recognize this process of rumination? It's very common. I'm sure you do. And he's saying a person that has this quality of gumption doesn't sit around ruminating on the past, basically. He is at the front of the train of his own awareness, watching to see what's up the track and meeting it when it comes. That's gumption. So he's saying someone who has this quality of gumption is someone who is at the front of the train of his own awareness. What does this mean? It's a quality of presence. It's a quality of being entirely there to receive what comes into your awareness, to receive the things that come from the outside in. Can we try that for a second? This requires a lot of attention. It's a very subtle state of awareness, attention. So if you think about what can you be aware of right now? Can you be aware of any sounds around you? I can be aware of something making a squeaking noise behind me. Can you pay attention to the present moment? What do you find? The first thing you find is probably a visual. The visual sense is the one that usually draws our attention the quickest. Then you have auditory input. But that's not all. You have also a physical sensory input. You can feel your body. Can you try that? See if you can feel your body from within, so to speak. Can you feel the presence of your body? Can you feel your legs making contact with the chair? Can you feel your back making contact with the chair if you're sitting? If not, can you feel your feet making contact with the ground? So the moment you enter the present moment, you need to be alert to stay there. If you're not alert, the rumination starts, the thinking starts, and you think, and your mind goes and says, oh, remember, don't forget to do this. You have to do that. Think about this. Think about your problems. Think about your past. Think about your future. That's all mind state. So we can say gumption is absence of mind chatter, absence of mind noise. When you return to the present moment and inhabit your senses fully, you can feel your body, you can feel your hands, you can feel your feet, you're aware of your auditory perceptions. You're also aware of your mind. The mind doesn't sit quiet for long. So eventually the mind starts. And if you can catch that, the moment that the mind says, oh wait, you forgot about this. Or, oh wait, you had to call Paul, don't forget. Or, oh my God, what time is it? I have to be in the office by 2. If you can be there to pay attention when that mental chatter starts, that's gumption. That's when you are at the front of your train of awareness, watching to see what's up the track and meeting it when it comes. So we're not only talking about senses, the 5 senses, no. More importantly, we're talking about the ability to be aware of your internal processes, of your mind, of your thoughts, of your emotions. Most of the time, all of these things run automatically. They control us. They run automatically. Something happens, I feel like this, and I react in this way. Without I ever having the possibility to be aware of it, because we are lost in our minds. We are lost in our emotions. We are not a gumptious person. I don't know if you can say it like that. When we have gumption, we are alert. We are at the front of our attention, of our awareness. We are ready to receive whatever comes from inside. And if I am filled with gumption, I can feel it. Oh, I'm angry. What you just said made me angry. Wow, how incredible. When I know that, I have a choice. Do I want to react automatically and shout back, or do I want to respond? And there's a very interesting, very important difference between responding to life and reacting to life. And if your life is overwhelming, chances are you're only reacting to it. A button gets pushed, you do this. Something gets said, you do that. And it's just so consuming, so tiring, so exhausting. But if we learn to be present for the train of our awareness, we get an element of choice. Now he keeps going. The gumption feeling process occurs when one is quiet long enough to see and hear and feel the real universe, not just one's own stale opinions about it. So he's saying how you feel with gumption. It's interesting that he uses those words. Basically, he's saying gumption is not something that you have or not. It's not either yes or no. It's something that you fill yourself with. And he's saying how you fill yourself with it is when you are quiet enough to see and hear and feel the real universe, not just one's own stale opinions about it. How can you do this? How can you pay attention to the real universe? You need to be quiet. You need to pay attention. Can you see the real universe? Can you see things around you as if they were just born into existence? Can you perceive the room around you as if it were the first time that you open your eyes? That's how a child perceives the world. As we grow older, we just have this baggage of thoughts, of concepts, and everything I see I label. That's a chair, that's a guitar, that's a frame, that's a plant, a camera. And the moment I have a name for things, I don't see them. Like Krishnamurti said in one of his talks, he said, the moment you teach the child the name of the bird is the last moment that the child will really look at the bird. Or something like that. So what the teaching is learn to see and hear without naming things. Be curious about the things that you see and hear. We don't pay attention to any of that. We're always so consumed with our own internal problems, our own thoughts, worries, preoccupations, fears, resentments. So if you want to be a gumptious person, you need to learn to pay attention to the subtle things of the real universe, the subtle sounds, the small things around you and inside you. You need to pay attention. Now, to put a good spin into this, I'm taking my phone out and I'm Googling Gumption definition. And I'm going to read to you what it says. Cambridge Dictionary. Gumption, noun. The ability to decide what is the best thing to do in a particular situation, and to do it with energy and determination. The ability to decide what is the best thing to do in a particular situation. So this is great. I find this fascinating because in a way he's describing to us how to make decisions. And he's saying, if you want to be someone that can make right decisions, you need to be someone that lives in the real universe. You need to be someone that is aware of the quiet things around you, of your sense perceptions, of your thoughts, of your feelings. You need to be fully alert at the front of your train of awareness. And if you can be present, this is what presence is, when you are totally inhabiting the present moment. When you're like that, in that state of alertness, you're not thinking. And that's when you can make right decisions. So, in other words, he's saying, the way to make decisions, the right way to make decisions, how to make decisions, it's not like we usually tend to think about it. How does that look like? Usually we think, in order to make a decision, I need to think about all the possible scenarios. I need to think about the future, how decision A is going to impact me in, and where I am going to end up in 5 years if I make decision A. And what about decision B? Okay, I need to think about the possibilities, what's going to happen if this, if that, where I'm going to end up in 5 years. I need to think about the pros and the cons and all of that. That's what we usually do when we want to make a decision. But he's saying, It's the other way around. If you want to develop your ability to make decisions, you need to stop thinking. Stop thinking about the future. Stop thinking about the past and learn to inhabit the present moment. Learn to pay attention to the quiet things. Learn to feel your body. Learn to be in connection with your emotions. How someone says this and I can feel anger in my body. Something happens and I can feel this surge of fear, anxiety. If I can pay attention to those things, I'm going to be in a much better position to make an appropriate decision than if I'm lost in my mind, lost in future. If you're going to repair a motorcycle, that's where the name comes into the question. I'm going to tell you about it in a minute. An adequate supply of gumption is the first and most important tool. If you haven't got that, you might as well gather up all the other tools and put them away because they won't do you any good. So he's saying if you want to repair a motorcycle, he plays with that metaphor in the book. He talks a lot about repairing a motorcycle as a metaphor for dealing with the external challenges of your life, basically. So he's saying, if you want to be able to deal with the external challenges of your life, an adequate supply of gumption is the first and most important tool that you need. If you don't have that, life's going to be overwhelming. If you're lost in your mind, life's going to be overwhelming. And he goes on, gumption is the psychic gasoline that keeps the whole thing going. If you haven't got it, there's no way the motorcycle can possibly be fixed. But if you have got it and know how to keep it, there's absolutely no way in this whole world that the motorcycle can keep from getting fixed. It's bound to happen. Therefore, the thing that must be monitored at all times and preserved before anything else is the gumption. So he's saying, if you have gumption, if you have presence, if you learn how to inhabit the present moment, if you know how to return to the present moment as much as possible during your life and step out of your mind, out of the mind chatter, out of the past and future, if you know how to do that, there's no way that you're not going to be able to deal with the things that come your way. If you know how to be present, you're in the best possible position to be able to deal with whatever challenge comes to your life. Not the other way around. Not if you think about all the possible problems and all the possible solutions. It's the other way around. If you can inhabit the present, then you're going to be able to deal with whatever life throws your way. So, the message is very simple. Gumption, presence. Learn to pay attention to the present moment. Learn to be aware of the things that happen around you. Curiosity is another word. Can you live with curiosity about things outside? Sounds, sights, feelings. If you go outside, can you pay attention to the subtle things that you always take for granted? The feeling of the air against your face. The sound of the wind brushing against the leaves. The feeling of your feet touching the ground. The feeling of every step you take. Can you be conscious? Can you be very sensitive to the thoughts that your mind produces so that they don't run automatically, so that there's an observer behind them all? If you can be the observer behind your mind, if you can be constantly aware of what thoughts are going through your head right now, or emotions, if you can remember to be the observer behind your emotions, and you can be sensitive to them, and you can know when they arise, you can notice the discomfort that arises in your stomach when someone says something, or the pressure that arises in your chest when you think of something, or the knot that forms in your throat when you remember something, when someone says something. If you can be aware of those subtle things, that's when you are feeling with gumption, feeling with the ability to spontaneously, creatively deal with the problems that come your way. So yes, that's it. Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance. I cannot but recommend it. It's very good. So yeah, let me know if you get it, what you think. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this, give a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and also check out my other videos with other incredible books. As I said, there's a variety of different books that I'll be sharing in my channel. So make sure to check them out. Thanks for watching or listening. And yes, it's a pleasure to have shared this moment with all of you out there. Take care. Bye-bye.